Expected return and risk management. Expected returns refer to the profit or loss you expected to earn from an investment or period of time. It is based or probabilities, meaning you estimate the possible outcome and have each one is to happen. In a simple term, expected return, what you expect to gain. An investment. Example, if you invest a stock that you earn 10% with a 50% chance or earn 4% with a 50% chance. The expected return is open parenthesis 0.50 times 10% plus 0.50 times 4% is equal to 7% expected return. You have an investment with two possible outcomes. Number one, it can earn 10% half of the time. Number two, it can earn 4% half of the time. The chance for each outcome is 50% or 0.50 in decimal form. To find the expected return, you multiply each outcome by its probability and add them result. 0.50 times 10% is equal to 5. 50%, open parenthesis, 50% times 4% close parenthesis is equal to 2%. Then add them, i-add na to sila tanan. 5% plus 2% is equal to 7%. So, ang atong expected return is 7%. Thank you.
I am Rosjean Distura Mansueto. So today I want to discuss my topic. It's all about the risk management. So what is risk management? Risk management it refers to the process as identification, analyzing, and reducing risk that could causes financial loss of harm. So in example term, risk management, how to protect your investment from losses. So we have the 5 example here. So first example is diversification. So what is diversification? So diversification is it is to spread investment across different asset classes, sectors, and geographies to minimize risk. So kani siya kani siya is usa ka strategy nga kuan ang risk makuan ang risk kay tungod panganib. So kung para ma-make stronger ang ato ang income or profit from a business. So and the second is risk management. So risk management is identifying potential risks and accepts their likelihood and impact. So these are the kanang kuan ni siya para mabal-an ang panganib nga moabot og para aware ta. So and the third is insurance. So insurance is a product to hedge against specific risk. So kaning insurance is mga katuni siya mga kasunduan o mga kontrata sa isa kung asa ta nagbayad sa regular nga premier insurance company. So and the fourth is regular monitoring. So regular monitoring it's to regularly review and adjust investments to respond to changing market conditions. So kani siya is katong pagbantay o pag-observe for making something or someone. And the last one is asset allocation. So asset allocation is to allocate assets based on risk tolerance and investment goals. kuan ni siya kani siya mga puhunan ni siya nga gitunga sa usa ka puhunan nga kasi klase nga mga category nga mga assets, like example stock and mixed income cash. And so when we say rest is panganib ang rest. When we say management is pamamahala, or kanang ikaw mo'y ga own ana nga business. And that's all. Thank you.
Today, we will be discussing the concept of the risk-return trade-off and how to compare two investments using the Sharpe ratio. So the risk-return trade-off is a principle in finance that says the higher the risk of an investment, the higher the possible return, and the lower the risk, lower the possible return. So the risk-return trade-off is a fundamental principle in finance that states that investment with a higher risk generally offers the possibility of higher returns. So the investment with a higher risk offers higher potential returns. So it's because investors need to be rewarded for taking or the chance of losing money. So the risk options, like stocks can grow your money more. But there's also a bigger chance of lose. So compared to safer investment like savings account. And the investment with a lower risk typically provide lower potential returns. The investments with lower risk provide lower returns because they are safer and more predictable. Meaning there's little to no chance of losing money. Since the risk is low, there's no need to offer high rewards to attract investors. So for example, saving accounts and government bonds are very secure, but only give small returns because they come with almost no risk of loss. So the formula here is the Sharpe ratio. So Sharpe ratio equals RP minus RF divided by QP. Where RP return of the portfolio, RF risk-free rate, QP standard deviation of the portfolio. The higher the Sharpe ratio, the better the risk-return trade-off. You are comparing two investments. Investment A minus A bond fund. Annual return, RP 6%, standard deviation, QP 3%, risk-free rate, RF 2%, RP 12%, standard deviation 10%, RF 2%. So the solution is investment A 6% minus 2% equals 3%. 2% divided by 2% equals 0.1. So this is the investment A and investment. So Sharpe A equals 12% minus 3% divided by 10%. So 12 minus 3 is equals to 9, and 9 divided by 10 is equals to 0.9. So, the risk-return trade-off deals as the risk and return always together. The Sharpe rate will help us evaluate if an investment is worth the risk. By comparing the two investments, investment A has the higher Sharpe ratio.
Diversification is a strategy used in finance, industry, and business that involves spreading assets or income sources to reduce risk.
The Sharpe rate will help us evaluate if an investment is worth share the risk. By comparing the two investments, investment A has the higher share ratio.
Diversification is a strategy used in finance, industry, and business that involves spreading assets or income sources to reduce risk. Formula: diversification ratio. Weighted average of individual asset risk divided by portfolio risk, where individual asset risk equals standard deviation of each asset. Portfolio risk equals standard deviation of the combined portfolio. Example: assets and their risk. Open and close parentheses, standard deviation. Asset A, 10%. Asset B, 15%. Weights. Asset A equals 0.50. Asset B equals 0.50. Step 1. Weighted average risk. Open and close parentheses, 0.50 times 10% plus open and close parentheses, 0.50 times 15% equals 5% plus 7.5% equals 12.5%. Step 2. Portfolio risk. Open and close parentheses, given. Portfolio risk equals 9%. Step 3. Diversification ratio. 12.5% divided by 9% equals 1.39. That is the diversification ratio.
Now I will be going to discuss what is portfolio theory. So, portfolio theory, modern portfolio theory or MPT, developed by economist Harry Markowitz in 1952, is an investment strategy that provides a mathematical framework for assembling a portfolio of assets to maximize expected returns for a given level of market risk. So, expected return formula. So, this is the expected return formula. ERP is equal to the summation from I is equal to 1 to n, and then WI multiplied by ERI. So where the ERP means expected return of the portfolio, and then the second symbol is the summation symbol, meaning U and the result for all assets. Then the third is the WI, means the weight or proportion of assets I in the total portfolio value. And then the fourth, the ERI, means the expected return of individual assets I. And then the N means the total number of assets in the portfolio. So here is the example for you to be able to understand what is portfolio theory. So here is the scenario. Consider a portfolio with 3 assets: stock A, stock B, and a government bond. So this is our scenario data. So first we have an asset, stock A, stock B, and government bond. So we have also the total value invested. So in stock A we have 5,000, stock B we have 3,000, and government bond we have 2,000. So the expected returns, we have the stock A we have 12%, stock B we have 8%, and government bond we have 4%. So to calculate that we need to follow the steps. So first steps, calculate the total value of the portfolio. So calculate the 5,000, 3,000, and then 2,000. So first step, we have 5,000 plus 3,000 plus 2,000 is equal to 10,000. Step 2, determine the weight of each assets. So we have stock A, stock B, and government bond. So the total value invested all the total value you copied here, 5,000, 3,000, and 2,000. Then the total of the total value you invested is you write here, and then here is the answers. And then step 3, multiply each asset weight by its expected return. So we have weighted return A, weighted return B, and weighted return bound. So all the total weight in the previous step 2, the 0.50, 0.30, and 0.20 you copied here, and then multiply it by the expected return, the 12%, 8%, and 4%. So we have that here. So this is the answers. And then step 4, we have sum up all the weighted returns to find expected portfolio return, or ERP. So we have ERP is equal 6.0%. Diri na to na siya gikuha. Then plus 2.4% plus 0.8% is equal to 9.2%. So the expected return of this portfolio is 9.2%.
So before I start my discussion, I would like to say hi to Ma'am Janela Robinson, our instructor. So today, I'll be discussing systematic risk, an important concept in finance and economics. First, I'll talk about what systematic risk is and why it happens. After that, I'll explain the 3 types of systematic risk, which are interest rate risk, inflation risk, and market or economic risk. So I will also share examples for each type so we can understand how they affect everyone in the economy. So what is systematic risk? Systematic risk is the type of risk that affects the entire market or the whole economy. It happens because of big events that no company or investor can control, like changes in interest rates, inflation, or major economic problems. When systematic risk occurs, almost all businesses feel its impact at the same time. This is why it also called market risk or non-diversifiable risk, because even if you invest in many companies, you still cannot avoid it. So for the second one is, why does it happen? Systematic risk happens when something affects the entire economic system. These are the events that are too large for any single company to control. When the economy changes, everyone is affected: businesses, consumers, workers, and investors. So I'll be introducing you the 3 types of systematic risk. First is interest rate risk. Interest rate risk happens when the government or central bank changes interest rates. For example, if the government raises interest rates because prices are rising too fast, borrowing money becomes more expensive. People buy fewer cars, fewer houses, and fewer products in general. Because of this, companies earn less and their stock prices usually fall. The event happens because the government is trying to slow down inflation, but the side effect is the whole market gets affected. So the second one is inflation risk. Inflation risk happens when the prices of goods and services increase over time. So for example, imagine the price of basic needs like rice, electricity, transportation steadily increases. People now have less money to spend on other things. So companies begin to sell fewer products, their profits go down, and the whole market slows. These events happens because the cost of living rises too quickly, and it affects almost every business at the same time. So lastly, or the third one is market or economic risk. Market or economic risk happens when the entire economy experiences a major problem. A good example is a recession. During a recession, many people lost jobs, companies cut costs, and everyone spent less. When spending decreases, businesses' profits fall and stock market drops. These events happens because the economy is weak and the weakness spreads to all industries, not just one. So in conclusion, to sum this up, systematic risk is the unavoidable risk that affects everyone because it comes from large events that influence the whole economy. We cannot escape it through diversification, but we can understand it and prepare for it. Knowing systematic risk helps us recognize how big economic events affect all businesses at the same time. Thank you.
So today we will tackle about the unsystematic risk. So what is unsystematic risk? Unsystematic risk, also called diversifiable risk, that affects a specific company or industry such as management change, a product recall, or a labor strike. This type of risk can be reduced or eliminated through portfolio diversification, which involves spreading investment across different companies and sectors to cushion the impact of a single company's poor performance. So, sa madaling salita, unsystematic risk is the risk na ano siya in a specific part of the company. For example is, ang company na-invest sa Coca-Cola. And ang Coca-Cola is nibaba siya or medyo nilugi siya gamay. So, kay unsystematic risk man siya, dilibot pasabot nga sa nalugi ang Coca-Cola, ma-affect siya sa tibuok daloy sa company. Kay unsystematic risk man siya, so pwede pa siyang masalbar through diversifiable or diversification portfolio. So, para masalbar na risk sa company, the company needs to invest pwedeng mo invest ang company sa lain-lain nga kumpanya para mailisda niya ang risk nga or ang damage nga nahimo sa Coca-Cola. So, unsystematic risk is mo na siya ang risk nga pwede pa siyang makontrol